whispered desperately into the phone. "Help us. Please. They're going to find me." The line went dead. The dispatcher attempted a callback, but the number was disconnected. With little information to go on, a patrol car was sent to investigate. What they discovered at the end of a long, winding dirt road haunts the entire town for years to come. But first, let's go back to how everything started. David and Louise Turpin were a seemingly ordinary couple in Paris, California, with an extraordinary secret. On the surface, they were devoted parents raising 13 children. Their family photos online showcasing matching outfits, Disneyland trips, and smiles that seemed rehearsed but unremarkable. But behind the closed doors of their suburban home lay one of the most twisted tales of abuse, control, and survival of a real-life house of horrors. David, a quiet computer engineer, and Louise, a cheerful homemaker, had what seemed like a love story straight out of a Hallmark movie. High school sweethearts, they married young and moved frequently, raising their children under the guise of deeply religious devotion. Their lives were cloaked in secrecy, a web they wove so tightly that no one dared look too closely. Neighbors thought they were quirky, reclusive, yes, but harmless. But no one could have imagined what was actually happening inside. This story takes a dark turn when the facade finally crumbled, exposing a house filled with terror. And it all began with a single act of courage. Jordan Turpin was 17 years old, but she looked closer to 12 due to years of malnourishment. She had spent her life trapped in a house where sunlight was a rare privilege, and where freedom was only a concept she'd read about in forbidden books. She wasn't allowed to leave, wasn't allowed to play, and wasn't even allowed to eat freely. On a cold January night, Jordan decided she couldn't take it anymore. For 2 years, she and her siblings had been planning their escape. They whispered in the darkness, rehearsing every step. They knew one misstep could mean the difference between freedom and death. With trembling hands, Jordan climbed out of her bedroom window, the metal bars biting into her skin as she squeezed through. Her heart raced as she landed barefoot on the cold, dewy grass. She clutched a deactivated cell phone, with her life on the line, and she ran into the night, her breath visible in the cold air. The streets were eerily silent. Shadows from streetlights stretched long and menacing, as if the world itself was watching her. For the first time in her life, Jordan felt the terrifying expanse of freedom. Every noise from a barking dog to the rustle of leaves felt like a threat. She dialed 911 with shaking fingers and whispered into the phone, her voice barely audible. "Help me. My parents are hurting us. My brothers and sisters are chained to their beds." When officers arrived at the Turpin house, nothing seemed amiss at first. The home looked ordinary, if a bit unkempt. But as the deputies stepped inside, the stench hit them like a wall. The air was thick with the smell of rot, mold, and human waste. David and Louise greeted them with forced smiles, their bodies blocking the hallway like sentries. They insisted everything was fine, but the officers pushed past them. What they found defied imagination. They saw children, some adults in size but skeletal in appearance, stood frozen in filthy rooms. Their eyes were hollow, their cheeks sunken. They looked like ghosts of themselves, covered in dirt and dressed in rags. One of them had bruises around their wrists where they had been chained for weeks. And then there were the chains themselves, rusted lengths of metal bolted to the beds, some still warm from the bodies that had been unshackled moments before the police arrived. Moldy food rotted in corners, and trash covered every surface. As investigators delved deeper, the horrors unfolded like a never-ending nightmare. The children had been fed just once a day. That's if they were lucky. Sometimes their meals consisted of nothing more than peanut butter smeared on a slice of bread. They were allowed to bathe only once a year. The younger siblings were so deprived of sunlight and proper nutrition that their bones had started to soften. The Turpin's method of control was absolute. Louise, with her manic grin and childlike voice, enforced a system of torture that left no room for rebellion. David, ever silent, recorded the abuse in journals as if documenting a macabre experiment. Despite their suffering, the children clung to each other, their bonds unbreakable. They whispered dreams of freedom in the dark and shared scraps of food when they could. But the most haunting detail was their innocence. Some of the older children, now adults, didn't know what police were. They had been so isolated that they didn't even know what medicine was or how to cross a street. When news broke of the House of Horrors, the world was horrified. Reporters swarmed the quiet neighborhood, cameras capturing the bland facade of a home that hid unspeakable evil. David and Louise were arrested and later sentenced to life in prison. But the damage they inflicted could never truly be undone. The children faced years of rehabilitation, physical, mental, and emotional, and yet, some found themselves victims of the system meant to protect them, falling into abusive foster homes and struggling to access the funds donated for their care. Jordan's bravery saved her siblings from a lifetime of torment. Her